Welcome to the Fly Media Podcast. We've got an exciting episode today, very inspirational. We are interviewing a 16-year-old student pilot who is a truly exceptional young man. He's a member of the National Honor Society, founder of a flying club at his high school, and he's also the overseer and director of the Young Eagles program at his local EAA chapter, 457. I'd like to welcome Hayden Walsh to the show today.
Hi there. How's it going? Really happy to be here.
Thank you so much for coming, Hayden. I'm definitely inspired and intrigued by your story, being that you're 16 and you're doing so much. Due to young pilots like yourself, I'm positive that aviation has a bright, bright future.
Thank you. I really hope it does. I really do hope it does.
If you just keep doing exactly what you're doing, your future is bright and you'll end up exactly where you want to be, doing whatever it is you decide you want to achieve. So let's dive right into it. What got you into aviation? Like, what was your inspiration?
So I'm a first generation aviator in my family. From a very young age, I've always been interested. I'm a firm believer that God put me on this earth, and it's my purpose to be the best aviator I possibly can be. So from a very young age, always been looking up. I've always been labeled as the boy with his eyes turned skyward. Whenever I hear an airplane go overhead, it's just natural for me to look up. Um, so it's been something that's kind of been hardwired into my brain all my life. And for as long as I can remember, it's been the only thing I want to do. It's the first thing I think about when I wake up, and it's pretty much the thing that I think about when I go to sleep. So I love it. It's my passion. What kind of got me into it is not really having any experience at all or having any family in aviation overall. I was kind of forced to pave my own path in a sense, take my own initiative, even from a very young age, to figure out if I really want to do this and to do the research, take the steps to get me to where I want to be. An example, like I started out really early on flight simulators. I'd like my mom when we were driving in the car, I'd take her phone from her and then I'd download these apps. I might pay like $4 or something without her permission, so I could fly the airplane on the phone. Um, that gave me a pretty basic understanding of how an aircraft flies, the general operations. You could do some crazy stuff, do barrel rolls, stuff like that. But I was more focused on like trying to learn from it, stabilized approach criteria, um, taking off and landing, trying to land correctly. Trying to land on the runway. That's kind of hard as a 7-year old. Just trying to fly the airplane.
That's got to be very challenging, especially on a phone where it's either like a little joystick that you're touching with your finger that is imaginary, or you're actually tilting the phone itself. Definitely challenging.
Yeah. In the moving car too, the forces of the car. Yeah,
Right.
that could throw you off a little bit. So I would go on my mom's phone. I'd play all these video games. Um, I'd watch YouTube videos. I'd find books. I'd pick up as many books as I can that I could find at yard sales of people, and I'd read them. I'd take notes. And I built my own connections. I built my own connections as much as I could. If I met someone who knows someone, like at my school, if someone's dad's a pilot or something, I'd like, hey, can I ask your dad some questions? Stuff like that. Taking any opportunity that I can to try and gain insight and learn more.
So talking about getting into aviation at such a young age, um, you got into aviation at a young age, you're only 16, but talking about your experience and your excitement about it from the time you were little, you mentioned looking up every time you saw an airplane.
That's correct.
Our offline conversation, you told me that you actually live right next to your local airport. You can look out the window and see the runway. So that must have been incredible, seeing and hearing planes almost on a daily basis.
Yes, yes. I went on a small island in the Detroit River, and we have retired Naval Air Station Grozeal here. It was active from, I believe, 1931 to 1969. I know it ended in 1969. It was decommissioned, but we have two runways. We have a west runway and an east runway. I'm looking out here because like it's dark out right now. I'm in Michigan, but you look out there during the daytime and you can see the planes in the lap at the pattern. You could see the big building, the big hangar with the Naval Air Station printed across it from my house. So I've grown up here my entire life. right next to the airport, so it's no wonder I got involved, isn't it?
Proximity definitely is helpful. So, at what age did you actually start your flight training?
Yes, so my first experience at the controls of an aircraft was I was it was early 2021, January, February of 2021. My aunt, her prior boss had an airplane. It was a A36 Bonanza. It was a really cool airplane. Very fast. Very fast. You know, you had the controls, you'd pass them over just like that. That was my first experience. That was down in Ohio. I think it's Butler Field. I don't know the identifier, but it's by Cincinnati. It's out in Cincinnati. That was my first experience, and then that really solidified like I really want to be a pilot. This is something I really want to do. So I was 12 years old at the time, so I realized it's not too realistic to go out and blow some money on flight lessons. You know, if it's going to take, I need to wait 5 years until I get my check ride, right? My parents would gift me a flight for my birthday like every year. So once or twice, maybe three times a year, I'd go up. I started taking my training seriously this past summer. I'm currently sitting around 75 hours. I have one more solo cross country to complete, and then I have my solo requirements. And then other just to turn
Wow.
17. I have to turn 17. And so I've hit my training hard. I took my written in early February. I passed it with a 92%.
It's amazing. So over the summer, is that where you got your bulk of hours? Because I know you're in high school and you have a bunch of different activities you're doing. Offline, you talked to me. We mentioned that you're involved in crew, National Honor Society, which means you're getting good grades. And I knew there was another club that you're in. What all are you doing?
Yes. So the hardest part of my personal journey, my flight training is juggling all these commitments. And I am a high school student, so doing the bulk of my training over the summer was extremely beneficial to my schedule. Between balancing, I do crew, robotics, marching band, a couple miscellaneous clubs, and then also I manage my club at my high school. So during the school year, it can get extremely busy for me. Finding time can definitely be tough. So that, doing lessons once a week, sometimes twice a week if you're lucky. It's a challenge, but it's a healthy challenge.
So, what would you say is the most important trait to be successful with flight training, as well as all the other things that you're juggling?
I've had a lot of time to ponder this, it's very simple. You have to want it and you have to want it bad. There are extreme highs, really, really high highs, and there are some lows as well. It can get dirty. You always come out with the passion of I'm gonna fly, that's what drives it. You have to have the drive to do it, um, and the willpower to kind of navigate through, like in my circumstance, a very busy schedule. To be able to navigate that, stay dedicated and stay oriented towards the goals, the little goals that you set to the big goal. That's the best thing that you can do, and that's kind of the traits that you just have to embody.
You started a flying club at your high school. How is that going? What gave you the inspiration to start this flying club?
I'm the president founder of the Grossville High School Aviation Club, and our mission is to bring aviation into the school district. I have a relatively small high school. My graduating class is about 100, 110, 120 students. Given our proximity to an airport, you'd be surprised about how little of a presence aviation has in our school and also in our community. So, just bringing all the resources into the school and captivating people, inspiring people, whether that be through discovery flights or having pilots come in and talk about their experiences in aviation. It's available to all grades, all students, everyone. Everyone is welcome. That's very important to the entire operation, and also bringing the aviation community into the whole perspective because aviation is a very tight knit community. It's a family. It's definitely a family. Allowing people to experience that is very important in our school. So this was founded this school year. This is our first year. We had some troubles through the school district getting it finalized for a bit. I came up with the idea about January of last year. So it's been easily a year in the making. It wasn't necessarily easy, but it's definitely worth it. We had some trouble with club advisors. I went through three advisors, I believe, and then we ended up where we are right now with Mrs. Aston. She might be watching this. She's a very key component to our club. The main goal of our club is to inspire students, next generation of aviators, mechanics, air traffic controllers, maintenance technicians, investigators, anything aviation.
Awesome. So you're having not just pilots come and speak. You guys are looking to have everybody involved in aviation, no matter what facet of aviation they're involved in, come to speak to show the different avenues that aviation has um, in terms of careers and as a hobby as well.
That's correct. That's the entire goal. My thing is being a pilot, right? Being an aviator.
Right.
And for a lot of people, that's kind of what they think of aviation as. Um, but some people may not meet the medical standards, or flying just might not be for them. You do flying because you love it. And if you don't love flying, but you still like the design process of designing a propeller, or
Right.
not having to like in terms of commercial aviation, not having to leave your family for a bit. You could be an air traffic controller. Just those different types of skills outside of just being a pilot. So we focus on the entire spectrum is what we try and do. We're communicating with Willow Run Air Traffic Control Center right now to try and get our members into the air traffic control tower. Willow Run's an airport just outside of Detroit Metro. Um, it's a towered airport. It's Class Delta. So
Okay.
bringing people in there to get a hands-on experience the operations, and see if they like it. Just give them an opportunity. The entire objective of our club is to give people an opportunity to take if they so choose.
Okay. About how far away is that airport in Detroit?
That airport, me and my instructor, we take off here and then we fly up there, and it's usually about a 10 to 15 minute flight. So it's about a 45-minute drive. It's a 40-minute, 35
Okay.
minute drive. We take the highway, so.
Gotcha. And what type of airplane are you flying in? Are you in a 172 or are you in a low wing?
Yeah, we fly our school hall's flying service. We fly 172s. We have 180. We also have a Skyline 182. But I've
Okay.
done all my training in 172s.
Nice. Yeah. Most common trainer aircraft by far.
Yeah, yep,
172s are great.
they're everywhere.
I've been flying. I just started flying a 182 retractable gear recently. Love the airplane. Love how fast it goes. And now when I fly a 172, every so often, I'm like, man, flying a 172 is so nice. It's easy. It's carefree. It's light on the controls. Um, I have so much more appreciation for the 172 after wrestling this 182 RG.
Yeah,
It's just a different beast.
yeah. I flew the
Okay.
182 from our school for the first time, and it's definitely a noticeable difference. It's just the sheer power, and
Right.
the glide ratio is a little bit different. It's a heavier airplane. Lands a little bit
It's a
different.
rock.
It's there.
It's a
Yeah,
rock. It just wants to fall out of the sky if you're not at power. And then when you're coming in to land, you're either pulling back hard or you're using that trim wheel to relieve some of that pressure.
yeah.
It's a
That's
monster.
That's right. And it shows that how the 172 is a really easy plane to fly compared to, like,
Right.
starting off in your training, it's pretty tough. You're kind of getting used to it. But yeah, I love the
Agreed.
172. I love it.
I'm a big fan of the 172, but being that now, I am a private pilot and I'm trying to explore and fly further and further, it makes sense to use the 182 and get there in a bit of a hurry, especially for day trips or long distance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that.
So back to your club, how many students or how many members does your club now have?
Yes. So on our roster we have about 40 students to date. We try and include as many people in the activities that we do. Like, we'll have to fill out a permission slip, and if you don't get the permission slip in, you
Right.
just can't attend. But we have about 40 members, 40 solid members right now. So we've reached a
Wow.
lot of people, and I do see that people are getting captivated and they are showing interest. So it's very rewarding to watch.
That's incredible. The next question it leads me to is how many of these people are in your robotics club? Because I think, the way that those brains are wired, aviation is probably fascinating the way things work, how it operates, drag, lift, etc.
The mechanically inclined mind of robotics really goes hand in hand in aviation. We have plenty of members that are members of the robotics team that do attend our meetings. I can name, I can easily name 5 or 6 students that are in robotics and also do attend our aviation clubs. And you can also see that, they are more mechanically inclined and they can kind of understand subjects a little bit easier.
That makes perfect sense. So, as we move forward and talk more about your flight training, let's talk about your airspace, your airport itself. Is there
Yes.
anything unique about your airport?
During World War II, maybe another war, they trained pilots out of here. I forgot the other 2 airports that the Navy would use, but this is the first phase. This is like the UPT, undergraduate pilot training phase for the Navy during that time. I forgot which president flew through here, but a president trained here. Amelia Earhart stopped through here a couple times. It's a very unique airport. We have 2 runways right now. One's in use. One is only in use because the westernmost runway is having some surface contamination issues, so that runway shut down at the moment. But we have runway 0422. It's a 4,800 foot long runway, 75 feet wide, so it gets the job done. We see some pretty mixed traffic come in. The guy owns a King Air here. TBM's flying. There's a guy who owns a PC-12. Mainly just general aviation, but there is some charter traffic here and there, especially over the summer. Yeah,
Okay. And you are non towered, correct?
non-towered. Yes, yep, non-towered airport.
So, do you find it throughout your training? Obviously, you've flown into some towered airspaces as well. Which one do you find to be more challenging, or initially did you find more intimidating?
Of course, it's without a doubt, it's definitely the towered operations that kind of got me in the beginning. So we do really good job of making radio communications in the pattern here for untowered operations, but it does take a little bit more time, I could say, for the Part 61 untowered airport student to adjust to towered operations.
Very interesting. So I did my training at a Part 61 program here at my
Okay.
local airport, which is Buchanan here in Concord, and it is a towered airport. And we have tons of non-towered airports in our general area. And I always found it like more intimidating or more challenging to go to a non-towered airport because you're doing so much more speaking, right? Every leg of the pattern you're communicating, you're announcing yourself 10 miles out, and every different thing you do, you're announcing to whoever is or isn't in the pattern with you. Um, and non-towered airports are kind of the wild, wild west. In terms of GA, that's where you see most of the GA accidents is at non-towered airports.
Of course. Yeah. To each pilot that trains at a towered airport or untowered airport, or just is hangared at a towered airport, there are pros and cons and differences to them. That's very prominent. And sometimes you can hear it on the frequency, like um people do struggle sometimes making every single call on every single leg of the pattern. To where students like me, we're a little bit more accustomed to that. So that's a difference. That totally is a difference. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find it to be very fascinating, challenging, and fun. But I've been scheduling these like brunch flying events, Bay Area
Oh,
Pilots
okay.
Brunch,
Awesome.
where I have 40 pilots fly into brunch once a month from different areas in Northern California, Central Valley. Even a few people from SoCal have flown up to go have brunch, and we're all pretty much always going to non-towered airports. So there might be 8, 10 of us descending on the airport from all different directions at the same time. And I remember the first one, I was like, "Holy moly! I should have gotten here 45 minutes earlier. This
Holy
is
smokes.
madness." Yeah,
Yeah,
and
that can be
it got to
stressful.
one point. Oh yeah, it definitely is stressful, and but once everybody kind of falls in line, starts getting everybody else in sight, and then they go, okay, I'm following you, I'm following this plane. It all ends up working out. But I remember at one point there were so many people just announcing themselves and joining the pattern. And I just got on the radio and said, "Hey, welcome to the party, boys!" Like,
Oh, that's funny. Yeah, that goes to show that it's a different animal, especially when it's a busy airport. Yeah, that's
it's a
funny. That's
blast, though.
interesting. That's
It's
interesting.
it's definitely a blast. So
It is.
throughout the process of your training, you got to do it during the summertime, is what you were telling me. You did, the bulk of it during the summer. You've done some of your cross countries. What's your favorite airport to fly into?
I gotta say, I mean, I love my home airport. I love my home airport so much. But I had the opportunity to fly to Oshkosh this summer with my flight school, and that was by far the coolest airport I've flown into. The coolest airport I've
During the
flown into.
event?
Yes, red high wing, enter the go turn final runway 36 right, land on the red dot. Two airplanes landing behind you. It's during the event. It was
Oh,
awesome. It was awesome.
dude, that is incredible. That is
Yeah,
awesome. That's the top of my bucket list. I've got it
of
booked for
course.
this year. Hopefully I get to do
Yes,
the landing if I fly the plane myself or if I fly with a club member. Hopefully they let me land it cuz I am beyond pumped.
yes.
That
I,
is
I
an
was sitting
amazing
right seat.
experience.
Yes, I was sitting
Dude,
right seat for that landing. You need two pairs of eyes. Um, it's a great resource for CRM, crew resource management. You're juggling a lot of tasks, mainly looking for traffic because it's a very, very congested airspace. It's the busiest airport in the world during that week.
yes it
So
is.
you got your hands full, but it's such a fun experience. Like secondary to Oshkosh, um, on our way back from Oshkosh, we flew north through Wisconsin, and across Lake Michigan, and we came down through the state back to Southeast Michigan is where we live. So we stopped on Beaver Island in Lake Michigan for fuel. And looking out the window, it just looks like the Caribbean. It's blue turquoise waters. It was awesome.
Epic.
It was epic. It was definitely epic. There's just, you look out the window, the windscreen, see this big island out there. About 30 minutes later, we're entering midfield for the right teardrop, left downwind of this little kind of rickety airport. We walk to the FBO, we get fuel, and it's just this big log cabin. Um, it's super cool. And we take off, and you just look out and see the beach. No one's on it. No one lives there. Well, a few people do. There are a few houses, but such such a cool place to fly into.
Give me the name one more time so I can write that down.
Yeah, Beaver Island. I don't know the identifier, but it's
That's no worries.
yeah,
I'll
Lake
look that up
Michigan.
and add that to the list.
Yeah,
That's going on the bucket list for sure.
it's cool. It's really
That
cool.
sounds epic. So you've already flown into Oshkosh. You've got to fly into a small island with beautiful views. It sounds like you've made the right decision to get into aviation, and you're enjoying it even as a student pilot.
I have no regrets. I don't think I ever will. I hope I never will.
That's the
I love it.
best. So what has been the most challenging part of your training so far?
Yes, the most challenging part of my training, without a doubt, is just balancing with school, my personal life, and stuff like that. I know I touched on that before, but it is tough for the high school student pilot. I believe that has to be the biggest obstacle, other than age minimums, to getting a pilot's license in high school, is just balancing all the commitments. Besides that, you make time for it. You just make time for it. It registers so high on my priority list that you do make sacrifices. You will make sacrifices. Um, Whether that be hanging out with your friends, like sometimes your friends are calling you up, hey, you want to hang out? No, I gotta study for my written. It's just
Right.
making those
Yeah.
decisions um, that do make it challenging specifically for me. But for the flying portion, I've had many years of, I don't want to say preparation, but I'll say like self-exposure to the operations of flight, um, basic flight maneuvers. With the simulators, I spent a lot of time flying. Um, and I tried to balance that with some book work too, to try to get as much of a head start as I possibly could, save money in flight training. But going into my flight training, the hardest part probably had to be transitioning some of the habits that I established in simulators into the aircraft. That's something that's very unique to simulator pilots. If you play like Microsoft Flight Simulator or something similar to that, it's a great tool, but you have to use it correctly. Um,
Couldn't agree
like
more.
Yeah, of course. Um, just using it as more of a tool, more of a tool. It's fun to fly in Microsoft Flight Simulator. You could thread the needle through buildings and stuff. But with that being said, you try and treat it like a tool to learn and solidify and hone your skills as an aviator. to the best of your ability.
In terms of the maneuvers, what was your favorite maneuver throughout training?
My favorite maneuver by far is the short field takeoff. Short field takeoff is by far holding the brakes, maximum, takeoff thrust set, and you see the RPMs level off, and you just let go of the brakes, right rudder, stomp on the rudder immediately, and then you're just off and you're airborne in a few seconds, feeling all the power that engine can give you. It's a rush. Takeoff is a rush to me. I love takeoff because you're bringing everything that you have. You're bringing the aircraft, all the engineering that went into making that airplane fly, all the training that you've done, falling back on your skills and bringing that all into the sky where it belongs is such a humbling feeling. I crack a smile. I crack a smile every single time I roll down the runway.
It's amazing. Wow. Yeah, I think that's definitely a challenging maneuver, especially like you said. Once you let off those brakes, the airplane takes off down the runway, right rudder to
Yeah.
keep it straight, and then you pull back and you're pitching for 60, climbing out, boom. It's it's unique going from flat to, you know, I guess I guess that's VX. So
Yep. Yep.
it's a unique one. And when you do it, in a bigger, more powerful aircraft, you start to notice that like that short field takeoff, the angle of attack is that much more steep, and you're like, oh my goodness, this is crazy.
Yeah, I saw that in the 180, the 182. It's full power. I gave it too much right rudder, so when I let off the brakes, it started torquing right. I was like, "Oh crap!" But we were off before the 1,000 footers, and
Oh
then
yeah,
it's just you're looking at the heavens. It was
exactly.
awesome.
You
It's
feel like you're
awesome.
pitched straight up.
Yeah,
It's insane.
you're trimming that thing out. Yeah.
So, what was your least favorite maneuver during training? Which one did you find to be like the most difficult or challenging?
The most difficult, challenging maneuver, I'd have to say, to me, um, would be steep turns. Steep turns are a little they I'm doing a really good job with them because I have more experience doing them over the months, and I try and get a couple reps in every single flight I do, depending if it's across country. But it's the constant balance of attention between all the instruments, looking at your airspeed, staying within ACS limits, 90 knots, plus or minus 100 feet, plus or minus 10
Right.
knots, plus or minus 5 degrees of bank, um, and locking in that sight picture of putting the horizon on the Cowan and then just bouncing. It's a balancing game, but
It is.
it has character. I like that maneuver. I love feeling the G's of uh of the steep turn.
I didn't like it in the beginning, but I do like steep turns. It's one of the things that I do for fun now. If I'm crossing over the practice area, no matter which direction I'm going or coming, I knock out a steep turn while I'm there and keep it going. It's a lot of fun.
That's true. That's very true.
So as we talked about your training and your I guess your weather patterns where you live. Living in Michigan, I know you guys get winters. You guys have like seasons, something that I don't know anything about in California. Can you explain how challenging things get during the change of the seasons?
Yes. So a joke that we Michigan residents have going around, it's so unpredictable. Just don't even listen to the forecast. I, I think over the years it's kind of gotten better with the forecasting, but like looking at the Taft now, one day it's gonna be sunny. Today was gorgeous. It was absolutely gorgeous today. It was sunny. Cirrus clouds at like 30,000 feet, and that's it. But tomorrow, it can be overcast, 800 feet, light, you know, baby rain, mist. It's usually pretty unpredictable, but over the summer, is usually when the air gets pretty busy with airplanes because the weather's nice. Winters can be cold here. We usually have a couple weeks during the winter where it dips into the negatives, pretty consistently. So flight training is pretty much halted during that. So you have people that aren't flying for upwards of a month. It's definitely the biggest challenge of flying in Michigan is just the weather, or anywhere in the north of the United States. That could be a challenge. You really adapt to it though. You have understanding instructors. Most of the instructors that at my school, they grew up in Michigan and they trained in Michigan or a similar environment. So. Um, we have a Redbird simulator, so you
Hmm.
usually try and book a couple flights, knowing that. the weather might really cancel one flight, and you can make that flight a ground or a simulator session to make up for that time.
Regardless of season, do you guys typically get a fair amount of sunlight, or is it often overcast? Like, Oregon, Seattle, places like that are overcast pretty much year round. Like, you're going to get IFR actual frequently.
Yes, yes. So definitely during the winter months, it's a lot more IFR flying, and you do rub up against some of the minimums for the traffic patterns sometimes. Um, but during the summer, it's typically predictable enough to where most of the week is sunny and really good for flying. It's definitely not like Seattle to where it's raining every day, but there is something to be said about the weather here. It's really good in the summer. It can be a little iffy in the spring, with all the rain coming in, and then the fall. The fall is usually pretty gorgeous.
During the fall, do you get all the leaves to turn as well? You get multiple colors?
Yeah, we do. We do.
Oh, that's got to be beautiful to look down from the sky and be looking down and seeing, the leaves turning all the different color.
It is. It's an experience. You get some pretty cool pictures. I got a really cool picture towards our practice area. We fly southwest to our practice area around. It's around a city called Monroe. The Class Bravo shelf of Detroit's like 4,000. So we usually do our maneuvers at 2,500 MSL. And that's just about the altitude to where you can look down and see all the colors. If you go any higher, they kind of blend together and just turn brown. Um, yeah. But I got a really cool picture of the sun setting and then this valley of just red trees. Really cool. I think it was my screensaver for a while. Really cool.
That sounds awesome. I'll have to check that one out later.
Totally.
Um,
Totally.
as as we move forward and kind of talk a little bit about some of the other things that you're doing in aviation, you mentioned that you are director of what is it, the Young Eagles program at your EAA chapter. How did that come about?
That's correct. That's correct. So as of now, I'm overseeing the establishment of our Young Eagles program at EAA Chapter 457. I work closely with the owner of Hall's Flying Service, the flight school, who is also kind of managing the establishment of our new chapter. We're a very, very young new chapter. With my experience in starting an aviation club at my high school, being youth myself, and kind of understanding what it takes to get people involved, he asked me to kind of get the Young Eagles kicked off. So I take pride in that. I attended a meeting today at a nearby chapter to kind of see how they run things, and hopefully apply that very soon to a meeting at our chapter. Um, so just gathering some information at the moment, but I'm really looking forward to hosting that first meeting with all the youth in the community. I'm so passionate about, besides flying, I'm really passionate about inspiring others. Whether that just be showing them what you can do with with the airport so approximate to our position, or just sharing my journey or others' journeys and just providing insight. So I'm really excited to get that involved in the community, even beyond my high school and my aviation club.
I think that's great. You're diving into aviation from like all angles. You're a student pilot. You are inspiring young people in your, high school to get involved. You're also working with the Young Eagles, with the EA chapter and the Young Eagles to get people in the greater community and area involved. And I think your story is going to be very inspirational to a lot of people. So yes, make sure you share it because there aren't many people doing what you're doing, regardless of age, but there are probably just you doing what you're doing at 16.
Yeah, um, I have met some pretty cool people doing this. Some very cool people. You make a lot of connections, and you hear like like a Delta pilot might be walking around the flight school. Oh, my daughter, she also started an aviation club, or she's in the aviation club at her high school. Like stuff like that. It's really cool to see that, and just being so passionate. You just have the drive to dive in at all angles, and I just don't regret it. I love it. Taking any opportunity I can to try and grow in aviation is. it's such a privilege. It's such a privilege to be involved. It's such a rewarding way to give back to the community and the aviation community in general.
You're a great example of a young aviator who is taking all the initiative. But what would you tell another young person who is curious or interested in aviation? What advice would you give them?
Look online about your nearest local EAA chapter. It's literally that simple. You probably hear it a lot, like if you look on a YouTube video, how to become a pilot. That's one of the most search topics. How do you become a pilot? And you're gonna have some guy, rattle off, oh, you got to get your private instrument, commercial multi, CFI, blah 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 blah. But start off small. Start off small to see if you like it. Because if you don't like it, there's no point in doing it. You can't get in it for the wrong reasons. You have to have a passion for it, whatever that may be. Whether that's air traffic control, investigating air accidents, um, maintenance. Just you have to have some sort of passion or drive for it. So when you have some interest, don't suppress that interest. Go and look and take the resources that you can find. There are so many resources to people looking to get involved in aviation, especially right now. The EAA Experimental Aircraft Association is such a great example. They take really good initiative, inspiring youth and people that are just looking to get involved. AOPA is another great example, Aircraft Owners Pilots Association. They have plenty of resources that are geared towards providing insight and information. It's as simple as calling up the nearest flight school to you and giving your circumstance and booking a discovery flight. Book a discovery flight, fly the airplane for the first time. Trust me, it's an unforgettable experience. Another thing that you can do is just talk to people. A pilot is never not going to be excited to talk to you about aviation. It's as simple as sparking a conversation with someone that you know, the pilot. Ask them how they got to where they are and how they love what they do. You don't have to do it for a career. I know plenty of people that just do it because they absolutely love it. That's one of the great things about flying. That's the advice I'd give.
That is great advice. And it's really funny you mentioned, pilots love talking about aviation. Well, there's a running joke in the aviation community. You know how you know someone's a pilot? They've told you in the first 15 seconds of meeting them.
It's very true. That's very true.
Yeah,
That's a funny joke.
it,
Yeah, and I give into that sometimes. Yeah.
it's the
As
truth.
pilots talking. We know.
Right? It's
We
the
know.
first thing on your mind when you wake up in the morning, last thing on your mind before you go to sleep. You probably dream about it. If you wake up in the middle of the night, it's either to go to the bathroom or because you had a bad landing in your dream. So there's not much else to life, apparently.
That's true. I don't think you can sum that up any better.
So what's next for you? You're looking to schedule your check ride coming up as close to your 17th birthday as possible.
I do definitely have plans. So I turned 17, which as we know is the minimums for a private pilot license. I turned 17 in April, so I have about a month. Um, the big issue that I'm facing right now is obviously the very high demand. I don't like to say shortage, but the very high demand for DPEs at the moment. Um, yeah, I've called every bit of 15 DPEs to be told that I've actually been told a couple times that they're not comfortable giving a check ride to a 17-year-old. A lot of them are, especially around here, a lot of them are snowbirds, which is where they go down south for the winter.
Yep.
So I call them and like, oh, I'm not going to be back in Michigan until May. So that throws off the timeline a little bit. So right now I'm trying to find a DPE that's going to give me my check ride on my birthday. But right now I'm kind of just honing in my skills
Right.
leading up until into that. Um, like I said, I have two requirements to my private. It's do that one long cross country and turn 17. That's kind of what I got on my plate right now. But really hoping, praying that I take my check ride on would be awesome, or just around my 17th birthday would be an absolute honor. And after that, I have applied for scholarships. I'm really dependent on scholarship money at the moment. I'm really hoping that I win some money so I can further my training this summer. Right now, I'm looking at getting my glider rating, being a glider pilot, bringing in the skills that I learned from my private pilot training into soaring. I believe that. being a glider pilot makes you an incredibly skilled aviator, stick and rudder. Sully Sullenberger, Miracle on the Hudson. He was a glider pilot. He was the glider instructor. Um, Utilizing all the resources that I possibly can, and I might get like tailwheel endorsed this summer if I have time. That'd be really cool.
Yeah.
If I win scholarship money, but I have a lot of plans this summer. I'm just going to be diving further into aviation, but between the EAA chapter, the aviation club at the high school, I'm looking at, college opportunities. It is my absolute dream to attend the United States Air Force Academy or the Naval Academy. Any service academy would be awesome. I really want to be a military aviator. Um, I'm very passionate about helping people. I really want to take the skills that I have and put that to something really good that can make a difference. I get that from the National Honor Society. That's an example. Is we do service, raking leaves for an old lady, stuff like that. I'm gonna start the application process for the service academies relatively soon. Hopefully get a congressional nomination. That'd be really cool. Um, but I'm medically disqualified. Severe food allergies inhibit my service. Really unfortunate, but I'm not going to let that stop me. I'm going to make them tell me no. A lot of people have trouble holding a medical because they were diagnosed with ADHD or they have diabetes, stuff like that. Make them tell you no.
Right.
So if that doesn't work out, I'm really looking into the aerial firefighting sector out west, the wildfires. Yeah, I know you're a firefighter, you know what I'm talking about. I see that smile.
I've had that pink stuff dumped on me before, the fire
Have
retardant.
you?
Oh, yuck. Yes, I have.
Does it hurt? You don't like it?
It's terrible. It got in my mouth. Uh it did what it was supposed to do, but oh, it is horrible. It feels terrible, makes your skin
Oh,
itchy, it tastes terrible. I'm sure it's not good for you, but it is what it is.
that's awful. You'd
But
assume that
those
they'd like,
pilots, well, look, it's all right. Those pilots are incredible. The situations that they find themselves in, they are flying through not only just, terrain. Fires on the West Coast are usually around hills or mountains. It's summertime, so you've got heat, updraft, usually high winds, poor visibility. They are the worst possible flying conditions. And then to top it off, you are dropping a few tons of payload at an instant, getting lighter. So it's a situation for only the most skilled and daring pilots. I don't think I have that type of guts in me.
yeah, and that gets me excited. It's another challenge. But I absolutely love the thought of doing that. I know you're a firefighter, so that has to kind of hit close to home. But, I think that's amazing, by the way. But the idea of getting dispatched and working pretty hard to keep fire away from a lot of homes or a lot of firefighters that are fighting it on the ground. I think it's an effort that really makes a difference.
No, it does. It makes a huge difference. Often during these fires up in the hills and mountains, there are areas in the terrain where we cannot get to on foot or with our engines, no matter how long the hose lay is. They're just not accessible areas. So these planes come in, and their planes and helicopters come in, and they are dropping tons and tons of water and retardant, and they're making a huge difference. So when there are big fires and the conditions are so bad that not even these planes and helicopters can get in there, it's a tough day and a very difficult fire to fight.
I'd imagine. Yeah. So I really hope that I get an opportunity sometime in my aviation journey to do that. Looking at aviation universities, um,
Okay.
tracking on the subject of my future. Looking
Yeah.
at aviation universities at the moment. Hopefully going for a program that offers restricted ATP options. I'm definitely
Right.
looking for Part 141 um, from my instrument to my commercial stuff like that. And
Nice.
it is my goal to end up as an airline pilot someday. I do want to be an airline pilot.
That's incredible. Who doesn't, right? You're flying big planes, seeing amazing parts of the world. It's an amazing career, especially for young people who don't yet have a family. For most people, you have to be, or I think around 25 to fly for the big airlines. Um, Otherwise, you can fly, with like smaller regionals or fly corporate jets and stuff. Once you kind of have the hours and you're doing such a good job of networking, you've mentioned a few times that that is like one of your goals. That I know when you meet those requirements and you've already got your network built, you will earn an opportunity due to the path that you've laid out for yourself, doing all the groundwork of getting yourself in front of the right people and making the right contacts.
Yes, absolutely. I really hope that that puts itself to work to get me to a place to where I can just be a good pilot, be a very good pilot. I think there's a reason for everything. So I'm just taking it
Most
by
definitely.
the take the bull by the horns, and I'm gonna love it wherever it takes me. Um, God forbid anything happens to where I can't fly, but um, just I'm really excited for the future of helping people and furthering my career, my craft.
I think you're going to have a very bright and exciting career. I'm pumped to see where it goes. And as we jump into this next section, we're going to jump into the rapid fire round where I'll fire off a few questions and you
Yes,
just answer them with the first thing that comes to mind. You don't even have to explain them. So, for the first question, the rapid fire round, dream cockpit. If you could fly any aircraft, past, present, or experimental, which one would it be?
F-18 Super Hornet.
Ooh, okay. This man really wants to fly in the military.
Yeah,
Must have gear. What one piece of aviation related tech or gear do you absolutely feel you can't fly without?
a knife. Um, I fly with a pocket knife. Mine's from Cirrus Aircraft. I got it at Oshkosh actually. It's so cool. It has the big knife. It has flint and steel, a little flashlight, the glass breaker, and then
Hmm.
seatbelt cutter.
What is your go to in flight snack that keeps you fueled and happy on a long cross country?
This is the good one. I'm gonna have to go with the sour cream and cheddar Ruffles chips. Those are pretty
Okay,
good. Those are really
not the
good.
Lays, the Ruffles. Gotcha. Okay.
Ruffles. I like the Ruffles. Yeah.
The real question that follows that is, so do you bring napkins
Um.
or you just putting your greasy fingers everywhere?
No, I could never do that to an airplane. No, that's a war crime. That's a war crime. You can't do that.
Every time
Oh
Hayden
no.
rents the aircraft, it comes back with child sticky fingers all over
Greasy
everything.
fingers all over the GPS. Oh, that'd be terrible. I would hate anyone that
Avionics
do
just,
that. I bring
oh, that'd be tough.
napkins. I bring napkins. I bring a paper
Good dude.
towel.
You're a good dude. You're a good
I
dude.
know. Yeah. Anything to help out.
So
It's
for a lot of us in aviation, especially in GA, like half of what we do is flying for the $100 burger, right? So the next question kind of revolves around diner diaries. Which airport diner or restaurant would you drop everything to fly to for a meal?
that's a tough one. The cross country I did over the summer, we went to Mayo, Michigan. Um, so you got the thumb of Michigan right here, and we went like
Hmm.
we're down here. Mayo's like up here, kind of. So
Okay.
it was a pretty long flight. Me and my instructor were taking the owner of the flight school up to his cabin up there. Um, we landed there, secured the aircraft in town, little family diner. It had the best cinnamon roll you could ever have. I forgot the name of it, but little family diner. It was good cinnamon rolls. I want to go back there. That was good.
I love cinnamon rolls.
It was
They're
good.
they're literally my favorite.
Yeah, but I'm
I
really
mean,
excited to go for the $100 burger. I haven't gone for a burger yet.
okay, well, that's one of the first things you're gonna do when you get your PPL.
That's true.
Super exciting. Who's gonna be your first passenger?
It's gonna be my mom and my dad for sure.
Okay.
They've been so I can't think of a way to thank them enough for how much belief they put into me. You know, they kind of thought I was crazy when I told them I want to be a pilot. You know, they thought, oh, there has to be you have to have a family member that is a pilot for you to be a pilot. That's kind of what they thought. And you know, I kind of I warmed up the idea to them over time, but they've been nothing but so supportive, so supportive. They deserve to be my first passengers, and I'm gonna be so honored to take them up as pilot command.
It's awesome. I know that's going to be an extremely rewarding experience for you and them. And
Yeah.
Hayden, I'm sure your parents are more proud of you than they can even put into words. And one of the best things that you can do to thank them is continue doing all the amazing things you're doing and make sure, above all else, stay safe in the skies, my friend.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you for those words. Thank you.
No, most definitely. So now for your favorite sound. Is it the roar of takeoff, the hum of cruise, or the chirp of the wheels kissing the runway? What's your favorite aviation sound?
Can I add a fourth one?
Sure.
It's got to be the roar of a fighter jet going by. Just feeling it in your
Okay.
feeling it in your chest, feeling it in your chest, especially the Oshkosh when you go to the Oshkosh for the first time this year. Your hearing is going to diminish a little bit, but it's so worth it. Just being on the line and
Yeah.
watching the F-16 demo team just rip that thing around, feel it in your chest. It's such an experience that you cannot attest to anything else. Yeah.
Definitely a unique experience. You're
Yeah.
all in on the fighter jet.
Yes, I am. I am. I am. I'd love to get a chance to fly a fighter jet one day.
Sure you will. Pilot bucket list. What destination or airport is on your bucket list? I know you've already knocked off Oshkosh, but what else is on
I'm
there?
just gonna go ahead and say Catalina Island. I know everyone's gonna say that one. But that seems such a cool place to go. Catalina Island.
And then for your landing playlist, if you could pick one song to play every time you buttered a landing, what would it be?
I'm gonna have what's that one Top Gun song?
Oh, like the Top Gun soundtrack song?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. I think it's gotta be
That's
that.
funny.
That's
All
gotta be
right.
that. When Mavericks, buzzing the
Yep,
tower, they're coming back from their mission.
exactly.
That's pretty cool. Yeah, it's gotta be that song.
Well, that's it for the rapid fire round. And before we land the plane and wrap up the show, is there anything else that you want to say out there to young aviators or people thinking about getting into aviation?
Absolutely. Just talk to people. It's the best thing that you can do. Talk to people, stay curious, stay passionate. Don't let anything minor determine your journey. It's not worth it. You can definitely press on. You will experience hardship, but it's such a reward at the end, flying an airplane by yourself with your family. Just do whatever you can to be a good pilot. Understand your minimums. Understand what's right and what's wrong. The two most useless things in aviation, the two most useless things to a pilot is runway behind you and altitude above you. Two most useless things. Be a good pilot. Don't get in it for the wrong reasons. And it's an amazing thing to be a part of.
Perfect. I couldn't have said it any better myself. I think that's it. GA is everything. It's amazing the freedom that you're given once you get your pilot certificate. You can kind of go
Yes,
anywhere, do whatever you want, even when you shouldn't. So, as you said, be a good pilot. Always make the right and safe decision because
absolutely.
aviation is inherently dangerous, but it gives you some amazing opportunities. So, respect it, respect those around you, and always practice safe flying.
Exactly. A good pilot is always learning.
That's it. Sound like M0A, Jason Shepard.
That's I got that from him, so yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. I'm a big fan.
Me
Have you
too.
gotten his book, Pass Your Private Pilot Check Ride?
I have not. I have not.
I would highly suggest you get the book or get the audio book. I actually got both, and it was incredibly helpful for passing my private pilot check ride. You can listen to it, in between your busy life and your activities, and it's extremely helpful to anybody out there with a check ride coming up or that is looking to schedule one. I would say start listening to this audiobook as early as possible. I also do have a video on the channel here of a private pilot check ride, a mock oral that I had before my check ride. And between those two things, I think it definitely dialed me in and got me feeling very confident. So I would highly suggest you look into that.
Yeah, and I will look into that. That seems really beneficial. I'll have to look into that.
Extremely valuable, especially because, like I said, you can listen to it in the car, in between activities. You know what I mean? When you have some downtime and you don't feel like reading, you close your eyes and just listen to it. During my check ride, I remember questions that I would be asked, and literally I would hear Jason Shepard's voice in my head with, what the appropriate response or regulation was, because I had listened to it and read the book so many times, as a study tool.
Of course. I really hope he sees this to know that he's making a difference.
Oh
I shook
man,
his,
he's
I got a selfie with him at Oshkosh this year. So
oh
he might
that's
recognize
awesome.
me. If he sees this, he might recognize me. We'll see. What's
No,
up,
he's the
Jason?
best. I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect and appreciation for him. I'm gonna buy the second version, the pass your instrument pilot check ride. I'm getting both versions of that, the audiobook and the written book, as soon as I get closer to that check ride as well.
Absolutely. And best of luck with that.
Thank you. I still got to button down and spend a little time finishing up this written. I like to get the written done and out of the way first. That way I can focus on flying. And when I start my instrument, I want to do it kind of accelerated as fast as possible. Like get
Okay.
it done in 20 days at most. The only issue I might have is getting a DPE. So if I need to go out of state to get a DPE, I will do so. It might be something you have to do as well to get close to your
Yeah,
birthday. Look, in other states that might have some more availability, but not be too far away in proximity.
absolutely. That's something that you're gonna take in consideration. Me as well.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest challenge in aviation right now, apart from the training itself. Is getting a check ride, because there is very little availability when it comes to DPEs right now, and the FAA is aware and they are looking to certify more DPEs. But you know how that process goes. All things government related kind of take time.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That's a challenge, but always gonna come out. Always gonna come out on top. We'll get that check right in there.
Most definitely. So before I let you go, um, where is it that people out there watching can follow you and learn more about your story?
Exactly. Yes. So, I'm still building it, but as of now, I have an Instagram page highlighting my journey. I try, I'm pretty busy, but I try and post some reels on there. I post on my story of cool things I see, cool things I do. It's called Flights with Hayden. So flights underscore with underscore Hayden. All lowercase. It's on Instagram. I'd love it if you go check it out, go give me a follow. And the goal is to inspire some people and show them that you can do this young and it's worth it.
Well, definitely. I'm looking forward to it. I know I follow you already. Um, there's so much that you're going to do to inspire aviators, both young and old. Just continue to share your journey, continue to have fun, and always, always, always push safety, because safety is the most important thing in aviation. And the more safe pilots we have, the better aviation will be for all of us.
That's could not be any more true.
The Fly Media Podcast has also put together a goodie bag for you and your flying club. We've got some things in there, a flying bag, E6B, plotter tool, a David Clark H13 headset, and a few other things for you guys. So make sure you guys enjoy, share with the club. I'm also going to send you guys some Fly Media Podcast t-shirts as well that you and your club can share.
Oh, I'm pretty speechless right now. That's so unbelievably generous of you. That's going to go very far in our club. That is really going to help out some people. Thank you so much for that. And
My pleasure. My pleasure.
I'll be sure to communicate with you the difference that makes.
My local flight school here that I started making content for, Flight Dogs, they donated some of the E6B and items like that are going into the bag, and then the podcast threw in the bag, and of course the headset. Best of luck to your club. Again, the whole purpose in the Fly Media podcast and the Fly Media channel in general is to inspire more people to get into aviation, and that is very clear that is your goal, and you are, you're walking the walk, not just talking the talk. So I'm super happy and honored to be able to help you and your club. As I said, you guys are the future of aviation. So thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
My pleasure, man. Thanks for coming.
It was such
Um,
an honor.
Thank you. No, I'm the one that's honored. It's been great having you. I'm truly, 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 truly inspired by your story. I think it's one that is incredible, unique, and you are going to go on to do some amazing things, not just in aviation, but in whatever other facets of life you decide you want to expend energy. And I don't know how you have so much.
Thank you. It was such an honor to be featured on this podcast. I hope this reaches many people if you're watching. Thank you so much for having me.
Well, this has been an extremely insightful episode. Thank you so much, Hayden, for sharing your story. I'm sure I'm not the only one that's excited to see where your journey goes and where this amazing life that you're building will take you. And may there always be wind beneath your wings. Peace.